Welcome to the Sounds of Resistance channel. The war that broke out between Ukraine and Russia affected the whole world directly or indirectly, both economically, politically, militarily, and socially. While European countries are still looking for ways to overcome the negative social and economic effects of the war that broke out next to them, they're increasing solidarity with the positive effects of their military and political effects makes up for this. Of course, although the Ukrainians whose country was destroyed by the war were most affected by this war, their rightful cause and fight for freedom receive support from all over the world, and this support keeps them alive and prevents them from being crushed under these effects. However, we cannot say the same for the aggressor, Russian Federation. The Russian Federation was the country that took the biggest blows in the economic, military, and diplomatic fields. With Putin's unprovoked aggression, the war he started is troubling him right now, and the side effects of this senseless war have begun to emerge in Russia, both politically and socially. Even the people of Putin's hometown are now revolting against Putin and his regime, and are raising the flag of rebellion. After Moscow and many major Russian cities, the final blow came to Putin from St. Petersburg, the city where he was born. We shall shortly take up the St. Petersburg rebellion in striking detail. Just before February 24th, Russian President Vladimir Putin saw a fairy tale and felt like he was the strongest in the world in that fairy tale. He was unaware that he was preparing his own end when the Russian army entered Ukrainian territory. Dreaming of singing victory songs in Kiev in 3 days, Putin is listening to songs of resignation in Moscow these days. The Russian people, Putin's staff, and army began to react clearly against Putin. Now they are loudly saying that Putin should resign. Members of parliament in Putin's hometown urged Putin to face charges of treason related to the war in Ukraine. Members of parliament in Vladimir Putin's hometown have demanded that the Russian president be accused of treason and forced out of office because of the war in Ukraine. Councillors in Smolninskoye, a municipality in St. Petersburg where Putin was born, issued an extraordinary appeal to the Russian parliament. They complained that Putin's war in Ukraine had killed thousands of Russian soldiers and harmed the country's economy. Members of the assembly warned that strong young citizens are dying or being maimed. The Russian economy is suffering, NATO is expanding, and Ukraine is acquiring new modern equipment because of Putin's daring policies, they said. One of the city council members, 34-year-old Nikita Yuferev, said that they listed the reasons for believing that what Putin did was treason. This means the beginning of the end for Putin. The fact that even his own members of parliament now oppose him and demand that he be tried for treason, which is the most serious crime, shows us that he has come to a dead end. Council members said the Russians should understand that the land border between Russia and NATO has doubled as a result of Putin's actions. Since Putin began invading Ukraine 6 months ago, he has suffered heavy losses in troops and equipment, as his forces fought to a virtual standstill after occupying about a fifth of the country. These heavy losses are destroying Russia's future. People living in Russia are aware of this and do not want to let Putin destroy their future anymore. Precision attacks by Ukrainian forces using high-tech Western weapons are undermining Russia's ability to fight, and Moscow is turning to obsolete weapons as its stockpiles of more modern equipment are depleted. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke today of the good news in the battlefields of eastern Ukraine, saying that his army has retaken some towns and villages from Russia. This counteroffensive is accelerating, and the Ukrainian armed forces are pushing the Russian army to its own borders on the axis of the Kharkiv region. Dmitry Palyuga, 35, who supported Putin's demand to be charged with treason for war in Ukraine, said that Putin's war harmed the security of Russia and its citizens. We want to show people that there are people who do not agree with the current trend and think that Putin is harming Russia. We want to show people that we're not afraid to talk about it, they said. Local politicians understand that their demands have no hope of success in the State Duma, the lower house of parliament controlled by Putin's henchmen. Council members' request that Putin faces treason charges for his war in Ukraine is a rare example of open opposition to war. Critics of Putin's invasion often died in mysterious circumstances. Last week, the head of a Russian oil company, Putin's invasion of Ukraine, was found suspiciously dead after he jumped out of a 6th-floor window of a hospital in Moscow. At the same time, the Kremlin refuses to say whether it still supports Putin's commanders, while Russian nationalists are enraged as Ukraine's stunning counteroffensive makes huge gains. Angry Russian nationalists on Sunday urged President Vladimir Putin to take urgent changes to ensure victory in the Ukrainian war, after troops were forced to withdraw amid a series of strong Ukrainian counterattacks. Ukrainian troops attacked east from the second city of Kharkiv on Saturday, smashing Russian lines and liberating huge areas of land, including the key strategic city of Izium, as well as several key transport and logistics centers supporting Putin's men in Donbass. The news made social media posts declaring the Chechen leader and Putin ally Ramzan Kadyrov that changes needed to be made to change the course of the war. Russia's commander-in-chief of the armed forces, Putin, and Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu have not yet made a public statement about the defeat. Meanwhile, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov declined to respond directly when asked by a reporter on Monday whether he trusts the Russian president's military leadership. The military operation continues, insisted Peskov, avoiding the question, and it will continue until the goals set at the beginning are achieved, he said. However, this seems like a desperate statement from a commander who has been badly defeated. Moscow's almost complete silence on the defeat or any statement beyond the claim that its troops were simply regrouping in northeastern Ukraine sparked considerable outrage among nationalists and some pro-war commentators on social media. Even if these people, who are seen as the biggest supporters of Putin, are rebelling against Putin, it means that the bells of darkness are ringing for the president of Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin, on the other hand, said that Russia will emerge stronger from its invasion of Ukraine, while lashing out at the sanction fire of the USA and Europe in reaction to the war. After asking the panel's moderator about the conflict in Ukraine after a speech by the panel's moderator at the Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok on Wednesday, Putin did not once directly talk about the war, saying that Russia has not lost and will not lose anything. This is truly the incarnation of a sick ego. The United States and its allies pushed Russia into a suffocating economic crisis as Putin ordered the February 24th invasion and started the biggest war in Europe since World War II. Russia has faced a barrage of US and European sanctions that have plunged its economy into recession amid the stampede of international companies leaving the country and a ban on Western technology imports. The United States and its allies have provided billions of dollars in financial and military aid to Ukraine, including an improved flow of weapons that has allowed Ukrainian forces to step back against Russian aggression. Referring to the economic impact of COVID-19, Putin said, "The epidemic has been replaced by other challenges that are also of a global nature and threaten the whole world. The fire of sanctions from the West, its aggressive attempts to impose a behavior pattern on other countries, deprive them of their sovereignty, and subject them to their will." Sitting next to the head of the Myanmar junta, Min Aung Hlaing, who was sanctioned by the US for alleged human rights violations at the plenary meeting, the Russian leader emphasized that it's possible to isolate Russia and said that he continued by understanding the risks and necessity. Putin reacted to international sanctions a day after it emerged that a secret internal report for the Russian government showed the country could face a longer and deeper recession as the impact of US and European sanctions increases. The document paints a far more dire picture than Russian officials usually make in their optimistic public comments. Putin told the forum attendees that Russia has weathered the West's economic, financial, and technological attacks as well. Putin stressed that Western countries have suffered more than Russia from the sanctions imposed on Russia to protest its invasion of Ukraine. "We have witnessed many times before that the statements of Putin or his media are not objective and serve a certain propaganda, although it's a fact that Europe is dependent on Russian energy. It is unlikely that any country will be more affected by European and US sanctions than Russia." In addition, Putin's primary problem is the increase of rebellions and uprisings against him, and the danger of both himself and the regime he established in 23 years. Now the Russian people and parliament are waking up and rising against Putin for good reasons. The Ukrainians can do everything they can to drive the Russian army from their land and liberate Ukraine. But Putin's army may try to strike again. So it will probably be the will of the Russian people and parliament to overthrow Putin that will completely end this senseless war. Thanks for watching.